Huh? 1, 2, 3, 4. Huh? 1.
You're buying willpower at a surgical price. This week, episode 20 of Season 2 of the Union of Muscle podcast, we'll talk a little bit about tempo when you're working out. We'll also talk about the Gastric Bypass Diet. And we'll talk about Millennials. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Union of Muscles podcast. Lift strong and prosper.
Podnieść silną przeczytać. Choć umieć i prosperować.
Biegaj dużo i odnoś sukces.
The views presented here may or may not be those of the host, guest, Union of Muscle, Black Hat Management, or its affiliates. Any information in this podcast should first be reviewed by the corresponding professional, whether that's medical, financial, or legal, before applying it to your life. Would you like to lose 10, 20, 50, or 60 pounds and still eat those carbohydrates? Coach Bob LeMaine, the carb loading king, can get you trim, fit, and full of muscle while still eating those carbohydrates. So go to www.unionofmuscle.com and click on the Fitness Coaches tab and find Coach Bob LeMaine. And remember to lift strong and prosper. Summer is almost here. Do you want to get fit for the summer? Do you want to get beach ready, trim, fit, and feeling good? Our newest coach, Coach Jamie, is running a Summer's Almost Here special to help get you into the shape you want for the warm summer days. Go to www.unionofmuscle.com and click on the Fitness Coaches tab. There you can find Coach Jamie and his summer special. With Coach Jamie and the Union of Muscle, you can lift strong and prosper. Go to www.unionofmuscle.com and click on Find a Fitness Coach to find a coach that fits your needs the best. You're listening to the Union of Muscle podcast, where muscle meets information and inspiration.
This episode of the Union of Muscle podcast is brought to you by Audible. Go to www.audibletrial.com/Union of Muscle to get a 30-day free trial, complete with a credit for a free book. So a very interesting topic has passed by my face, and I wanted to bring it to you guys so you had a bit more information out there. I want to talk with you guys a little bit about the Gastric Bypass Diet. I don't know if you knew this, but there is a particular diet that many gastric bypass surgeons recommend that those who get gastric bypass engage in, based on the factors that they have much smaller space to put that in. So this first brings me back to the idea of why someone would get gastric bypass surgery. And from what I have been researching, if you lack the willpower basically to do the gastric bypass surgery diet, if you lack the willpower and the ability to do that without gastric bypass, then it's an option for you if you meet certain requirements of being that overweight. Your BMI, body mass index, so how much your weight is for your height. They do it's a body mass index. It's based on height and weight. Then you may qualify for gastric bypass surgery. There's different ways they're doing it right now. There's the lap band, there's a sleeve, and then there's a bypass. But in each of these, you end up with a smaller space to store your food before it gets put into the intestines. And so the idea is that you're going to fill up a smaller space and you're not going to feel as hungry. So this is the major thing that gastric bypass does for people, is it allows them to feel fuller faster. So they don't feel hunger and aren't tempted to eat when they shouldn't be. So if you're someone who has the ability to withstand hunger and to not eat when you're not supposed to, or to create the right diet that you're not going to get those hunger pains and eat wrong then you're going to be okay. This is why I principally recommend people eat 6 times a day who are trying to lose weight, because if you eat 6 times a day, small meals, then you're not going to feel hungry. But there were a few interesting things I picked up from learning about the gastric bypass diet, which could help anyone who's interested in managing their diet better. So now that we know a little bit about the gastric bypass as far as who it might be better suited for, those who maybe lack the ability to manage their diet on their own, that their hunger drives them a little bit more, that willpower gives them an extra boost of willpower if they can't muster it on their own. It's a way to buy willpower. You're buying willpower at a surgical price. And it can help you. I think it can help those people who are struggling with that in their life. Let's get to the diet. There is a diet part of gastric bypass, which I think if you followed, even without gastric bypass, you would have successful weight loss. So all gastric bypass does is it enables you to better manage a caloric restricted diet. So we're not talking heavy caloric restriction. Well, maybe we are. Let's just go down the list. So they have 4 major things that they prescribe in this gastric bypass diet. The first is to never skip a meal. Never skip a meal. They recommend 3 meals a day. I say 5 to 6. So get on that idea of how many meals you want to eat. Can't be fewer than 3. And never miss a meal. This is what I recommend even for those who are getting on the 5 to 6 meal a day diets routine, lifestyle routine, if you will, is that you never skip a meal. What happens when you never skip a meal when you're eating 6 meals a day? Well, guess what? You're going to come across a meal where you might have eaten too much or snacked in between, and now it's time to eat. Guess what? You gotta eat. You're never going to skip that meal. 5 to 6 meals a day, never skip a meal. That means even when you're not hungry, you need to eat a small meal. And that'll help you manage those hunger pains, that'll help you manage the diet. Here they're using gastric bypass, so they can do 3 meals a day, and it's not going to send hunger signals. The second one is that they recommend you eat solid foods. Solid foods, so no more mashed potatoes, he says, no more yogurts, no more ice creams. So anything that's mushy, soups, no soups. He recommends beef, chicken, fish. Yeah, it's hard for a vegan to do it, but I guess you could do tofu instead. And then leafy or hard vegetables. So carrots and celery, and obviously not potato, because he says don't do mashed potatoes, so I'm figuring potatoes might be out. But any of these solid type foods, which are recommended in most bodybuilding type diets. Now, when you're getting involved in these type of strict diets, you're not going to be able to gain muscle, because he recommends that you only eat 3/4 of a cup of food per meal. So they're recommending 3 meals a day, 3/4 of a cup full of these solid foods. If you're doing 5 to 6 meals a day, I say you could probably do the same without gastric bypass, be alright. But 3/4 of a cup of food, meaning if you took all the food you were going to eat for that meal, you could fit it, mash it into 3/4 of a cup. I know, it doesn't sound like a lot, but this is how they're losing that weight. And that gastric bypass is helping them to have the willpower to succeed. Which means you could do it too if you wanted to. I recommend the 5 to 6 meals a day, but solid foods, they're recommending no more than 3/4 of a cup of food for each meal. Now, there's something they do with the water too, and this is the third phase, or the third step in their gastric bypass diet, is that they don't drink water while they eat, or any liquids. So they're not doing any liquids while they eat, 20 minutes before they eat, and 20 minutes after they eat, because they want that stomach to be filled for 45 minutes. They want to keep the food in their stomach for 45 minutes without washing it through. So that liquid, before, if it falls into a big liquidy mess into your stomach, then it's going to soupify and liquefy faster. Same if you drink within the 20 minutes after you eat. You're going to wash that food down and wash it through faster out of your stomach. But you want that to sit in your stomach for 45 minutes. And so that's why they're recommending not 20 minutes before, not 20 minutes after that you're going to drink liquids, right? Because they want that to be in your stomach long enough, 45 minutes, in order to send a signal to your brain that you're no longer hungry. So I think that could work no matter how big your stomach is, right? No matter how big your stomach is, that signaling process is probably going to work the same. Now, the fourth and a very interesting one, which everyone should know, is that you want to drink low-calorie drinks when you do drink. So the rest of the day, you can be drinking water, you can be drinking liquids, just make sure they're low-calorie. What's the point of struggling through those small meals or forcing yourself to eat so many small meals if you're just going to ruin it with high-calorie liquids? So that's 4, is that you don't want to drink those high-calorie liquids. You want to drink low-calorie liquids like water. So I think if you were trying to lose weight and you didn't want to buy it through surgery, you could probably follow these same steps. Of course, with exercise, they do talk about exercise that they say you can be successful without, as far as weight loss goes, without a lot of exercise, but it's going to improve your weight loss ability if you can include exercise into this routine that they're getting in the gastric bypass. Of course, we on this podcast think that is very, very important for everybody because it's going to get you to have a functional life, a healthy fitness lifestyle. So I'll go through those again real quick in case you missed them, and I'll throw them in the show notes as well. So if you're working out, working hard, working savvy, you don't have to pull over the car. You don't have to stop your reps. You can just go to the show notes afterwards, leave a comment, like, subscribe, and don't forget to leave us a beautiful review on iTunes. It only helps other people find the podcast. So those were, number 1, 3 meals a day, or 6, if you're not trying to use the gastric bypass. Solid foods, right? Nothing mushy. He says rice. Rice can be in part of that. Solid foods, probably not noodles, right? Probably not breads. Those are all kind of squishy and soft. Water, not 20 minutes, or liquids, not 20 minutes before or 20 minutes after you eat. And then make sure that those liquids are low in calories. You want that stomach to sit the food to sit in your stomach at least 45 minutes. Now this brings me to something very important about this podcast. I think this podcast can do more for diabetes, for heart disease, and for any other ailment. I think this podcast is more powerful for fighting those than a single post that you can like. So a lot of times people get into what they call slacktivism, right? It's this idea that liking things on Facebook or liking things out there that are saying for a good cause is a way you're actually supporting that cause. I am in the mindset that is slacktivism, but check this out. If you share this podcast and you get other people to listen to this podcast and they can subscribe, guess what? I think that is doing something, because when they get subscribed to this podcast, when they get onto our email list, they're going to have access and hopefully listen, right? If you can get them to listen, we'll be in their little ear every week. They'll get a chance to listen to information and inspiration on how to live a healthy fitness lifestyle. Inspiring stories, great information from those who have been where you're at and who have found a way to make it through and make it and conquer. You can do more for them by subscribing to this podcast, sharing it with others, getting other people to listen. You can support the fight against diabetes. You can support the fight against heart disease. Any health issue that can be improved by a healthy fitness lifestyle, you can feel good about supporting. When you support this podcast, when you get other people to listen and help us out. Remember, you can be a patron. You can be a patron, and that's going to help me keep this thing going and keep getting in more great guests and more great information. I want to thank you guys for listening to this episode, and stay tuned for more. Your Union of Muscle coupon code MUSCLE1 is now accepted at earthskinbodycare.com rubberarmmusclerub.com, ewcmma.net, and axonlabs.io. Saturday, August 1st. The Elite Warrior Challenge is putting on their next mixed martial arts combat cage fight. You can go to www.ewcmma.net to get your tickets now.
Do you want to lift strong? Go to www.unionofmuscle.com and click on Fitness Coach tab. There, you will find fitness coaches who are ready to help you lift strong. What's great is that once you have your own fitness coach, either as a consultant or one-on-one, you can also earn more fit coins for completing the goals the coaches set for you. Live strong and prosper. Join the union. Do you work in health and fitness or want to? Feel free to contact me, Coach Paul, at unionofmuscle.com for more information. I want to thank all you beautiful fitness freaks, geeks, and athletes for going to www.unionofmuscle.com and clicking on the Patrons tab. There, you are able to sign up as a patron. As a patron, you get access to commercial-free episodes of the Union of Muscle podcast. Additionally, you get additional ways to earn fit coins. You're assigned a Union of Muscles coach who's going to help you stay accountable to your own personal fitness goals. If you haven't signed up as a patron to the podcast and to the Union of Muscle, go ahead and do so now. Just head over to www.unionofmuscle.com and click on the Patrons tab. And remember to lift strong and prosper. So I've been getting a bit of a bad rap. Now, I know that's as shocking to you as it is to me, but it's not because of this podcast. It's not because of fitness. It's not because of anything like that. Well, maybe in a way. It's because I look kinda young. I don't look old. I have a youthful appearance, a nice body. And many people identify me as a millennial. Now, being a millennial alone shouldn't give me a bad rap, or being perceived to be a millennial shouldn't give me a bad rap, but millennials are getting a bad rep. There's a lot of news media going on right now that millennials are self-entitled and narcissistic. I had to do some research to figure out who millennials were. Maybe I do fit into this category. So I had to do a little research. It says that millennials, some say, are from anyone who was born between late 1970s. Most are saying early 1980s to the year 2000. So born within that time frame are known as millennials. They used to be known as Generation Y, and some like to call Generation Me. Of course, saying that we're self-entitled and narcissistic. I don't believe that's the case. Let's take a look at some of these people in this age group. They remember the Twin Towers falling. They remember what it was like before the recession and after. Now, this is an interesting group because, at least for me, I grew up learning that if I played hard, studied harder and smarter, and worked hard and studied and worked smarter, that opportunity was sure to find me. And for many in generations previous, that is and was the case. In fact, it still is for those in that generation today, in the older generations. But many said the same thing about the baby boomers, that they feel a certain entitlement and are a bit narcissistic and or buying things. You know, they're the big buyers of the economy of the boomers. So millennials got to see what it was like, and so I saw that it was coming, and I think many of us saw that the Great Recession of this era had come, and that it was going to change the job market. And we knew that, but we didn't know exactly how it was going to change the job market. And in fact, today, we know that the job market is different. But it's hard to capture exactly how. Still, Jobs are changing as technology is increasing, and the jobs that we studied for in school aren't necessarily the jobs that are available. Nor can anyone say that certain jobs are going to be the same. Maybe medical might still be there. Yeah, that's about it. Medical jobs are going to be around for a while still. So unless we're all going to be doctors, then maybe we've got to rethink how the education system is, or exactly what our expectations are. Now, even knowing that maybe we can't expect the same job market, and maybe the training we got in school or the things we learned in school may or may not help us with job security, if that is in fact important to us, if in fact there is such a thing as job security anymore. But that's what we were led to believe, and there was no information on how to handle that. We may have seen it coming, but we didn't know exactly how to handle it once we were into the job market and dealing with it. Now, those of generations older, they have the benefit of all that experience, and so it might be a little bit easier for them to get from job to job because they have all that experience, and so when new jobs opened up and the economy started rebounding, it wasn't necessarily those people who were new to the job market who were getting the majority of the jobs, in my opinion. I think it was still the older generations, those with more experience, who were able to capture the newer jobs as they became available. And so as the economy was bouncing back, it wasn't bouncing back equally among all the categories. Of course, even less for minorities and that area of things. But I'm focusing here on millennials, no matter what the race or age, race or gender. So millennials are out there, and the only people we could have picked brains on about what it was like to get a job during a depression are far gone at this point. We may have a few who were babies during the Great Depression, but they weren't the ones who were finding jobs after a depression, after a downfall. And yes, this depression is a lot different. The standard of living is different. But, however, expectations are still high. In fact, there may be even higher expectations. I was reading an issue of Money magazine, I think it was just this last issue, where they were going over relationships and money. And they have a full-page layout, pages 52 to 53, of Money Magazine. Let me get the edition here. The June edition. They have a full layout on the differences between boomers and millennials when it comes to relationships and money. And what the trend was overall was that, as far as relationships go, millennials find that attractiveness is more important and financial stability is more important in dating and mate selection. So not only are the opportunities a little bit harder for these millennials, but also the importance in their own social systems amongst each other are even more important than the generations before them. So they're having a hard time with the job market, and now they're also having a harder time with stability in relationships because money and attractiveness have both increased in desirability as compared to earlier generations. So economics are hard, dating situations difficult. Now this can lead to a lot of discouragement out there. But let me also relate back again to an even earlier generation than the boomers, and that's those who made it through the Great Depression. Now, a lot of those ended up being the children of the Great Depression, ended up being our World War II veterans and our World War II generation. And they say that that was the greatest generation. I think it's because they knew struggle, they accepted struggle, they accepted difficulty. And I think the millennials are going through that right now. Food is there, there's no bread lines. But I think the opportunities are skewed such that these millennials are having a harder time than generations before them did, than the now living generations had. And so it's going to be hard for the boomers and other older generations to truly identify with what the millennials are going through. But once again, I think this is an opportunity for millennials to become the next greatest generation. We have an opportunity not to be a one-trick pony. Our economy had been building individuals who are highly specialized, and specialization may still continue. But while your jobs in the future may require a high level of specificity, the economy as a whole, I believe, is requiring us to become more well-rounded, to be diversified in our skill sets, to be a bit more millennial people, to be a people who are a bit more Renaissance-ish in that we have more than one talent in which we have to excel at. We have more than one ability that we have to become good at. This is more demanding. It's more demanding of us, and for some, this may sound like we're being narcissistic. It may sound like we're being entitled, but the only thing I feel millennials are entitled to do is to find a way to overcome these difficulties. Is there one true path? I don't think there is, but I think we're learning some clues. These are the clues I'm learning. The first I've told you already is that we need to become experts in more than one thing. Now, some of these things we can become good at can span other areas of knowledge, other areas of specialization. We have to become specialized in specialization. Become good at getting good at things. Maybe there's too many getting goods there. But we have to become millennial people. And these are people who are good at multiple things. This way, no matter which way the market turns, sways, and swivels, we have something to contribute to it. And some might like to think that market's driven by money and things like that. Money is just a signal, people. Money is just a signal of where society is finding value. And maybe you don't like that because you're not getting a lot of money and you think that means you don't have a lot of value. That's not the case. It just means what you're contributing to society isn't highly valued. If you're anyone can have kids. I'm sorry to say, anyone can have kids. That doesn't mean anyone's a good parent, but anyone can have kids. So if you're not making millions of dollars just because you can have children, it's not that society doesn't value having children. It's just that there are so many people in society who can have children that it's not a scarce resource. There's not much special about the ability to have children, whether you're male or female. Your ability to produce children isn't super rare in our species. It may be at one point. Your ability to raise good children, I think, is rare. However, our economy is still not rewarding you for that, although those things have value. That just doesn't mean there's a direct economic exchange for that right away. And hopefully you're not being a good parent because you're going to get money out of it. Hopefully you're not being a parent, good or bad, because you think you're going to get money out of it. You're going to find financial stability from getting some children. Hopefully that's not why you're having children. Hopefully you're getting children for totally other reasons. Hopefully it's not a cost-benefit analysis when it comes to monetary, because guess what? It's out the window, really. You're going to be paying a lot for kids, and you know that going in. Hopefully you know that going in. Beyond that, we need to know that the market's shifting, and we need to be ready for those shifts. We need to have more than one thing that we're good at. I recommend that millennials, male, female, race, color, gender, doesn't matter, that we have at least vocational skills and avocational skills. Now, I know avocation, if you look up the definition, says hobby, but this is why I think we should build our avocation as vocationally as possible. Because our vocation is something that we get good at that the market is currently demanding. We have to be able to pay the bills. We have to be able to brush our teeth. We have to be able to eat food. We're not going to roll over, die, play dead. We're not going to sit there and rely on others to do things for us. We're very independent, but we want these opportunities. We want avocations. We want work which not only is profitable but fulfilling. But we also have to earn where the market currently demands. So we have to have both a vocation and an avocation. Develop the skills that the market currently needs, and also develop ourselves in the areas in which we want to give value. So it's not always apparent, and this is because the market is shifting. It's not necessarily apparent where the jobs are tomorrow. It's not very necessarily apparent where the economy will shift tomorrow. But we are creating the signals now. We're creating it through our avocations, the things we enjoy doing, the things we enjoy so much doing that we'll do them for free. Yes, that's why I think avocation is a good definition of what the other thing is. At least one thing, maybe a few, that you need to be working on. It's the thing that you do get fulfillment out of, that you'll do for free, whether or not you're getting paid, because you get that much fulfillment out of it. You may not be able to find right now the job that is both fulfilling and financially freeing. That'll both give you fulfillment and identity. So we're going to have to bifurcate those things. We're going to have to take them and find not only the things that we want to develop for our future selves, so that way we're not always stuck in a vocation that we're not necessarily excited about, but that can do with a level of expertise and a level of excellence, right? A level of specificity. We have to become specialized in those vocational things as well. Not only do we have to do that, but we need to develop those avocational areas. Those areas where we would do for free and are going to have to if we're going to develop it. But that'll lead to the jobs of tomorrow. We want the jobs of tomorrow. The jobs of tomorrow aren't here today. The jobs of yesterday are going away, which is why we're stuck. Almost we're stuck. But if we can become more robust, if we can be able to handle the fluidity of the market, the stagnation of the market, whatever the market is doing, we have to find a way to do that. And that's why I say we need to both be a little humble and be willing to find what the market needs now, fulfill it, even if it's not that enjoyable, even if it's not self-fulfilling, so that way we can finance our future jobs in our avocations. It'd be great if the market allowed us to have our avocations right now, for us to do the things we love to do and enjoy them. That's working smarter, not just harder. Guess what? We gotta do both. Millennials have to do both. We have to work hard and we have to work smart, and sometimes that's not on the same things. There's some things we're just gonna have to work hard at. Whether or not there's a smarter way to do it, we're just gonna have to work hard at it. And then there's things that we can work smarter at. I wish we could marry the two right away, but that's not what the market is demanding. The market is demanding of us that we have a vocation. Technical type training that the market's demanding right now, whether that's, a radiologist tech, whether that's fixing cars, mowing lawns, whatever it is, it's something that the market demands right now. Maybe it's not something we like, but we got to get out there and we've got to build experience, because that's going to give us experience on how the market works. And then we need our avocational training. Now, I encourage, of course, any of you who have interest in avocational fitness. If you love fitness as your avocation, let's build that avocation together. We can give out tips, tricks, and ideas on how to build epic bodies, fulfill our dietary needs. And that's another thing millennials have to realize, is that most of your avocations can't be centered on giving knowledge, because knowledge is going to become ubiquitous, or in that it's going to become universally accessible. Now with the internet, we can no longer rely on the fact that we've been to school and we know something, because anything that we could have learned in school is now on the internet and everybody can know it. We can also capitalize, so to speak, on the fact that there's so much information out there. It's hard for one individual in order to weed out the noise of information that's out there. So you can capitalize on the idea that you know what information's out there that's needed, and that you don't want other people wasting that time going out there and sifting through the noise in order to get what's pertinent to them. You can come at it from the researcher standpoint, so to speak, or the educated researcher or advisor. You can come at it from that point. But once again, these are avocational type things. There may not be a direct the market demand that's currently there for people who can take information that's widely available for everybody and put it in an easy distillable form that can be consumed by those who need it in such a manner that it's useful to their lives. I think that's something that can be developed, but it's not quite there yet. So you still have to find the vocation that's going to keep you a participant in the market. Maybe it's not that important that you are, but I think it is, guys. I think it is. Because if we're not participating in the market, if the millennials are not participating in the market, it's going to be that much harder to make the transition once these baby boomers retire. Our baby boomers have now hit 60. There's the youngest baby boomers have now hit their 60s, and retirement age is creeping through the generation. So there will be jobs, as the jobs are being eliminated, people are retiring, and so they may not be opening back up. There may be a few that are. But I think that's what's happening right now in the market, that these jobs that are secured jobs, many of them are being retired along with those who are retiring, which in essence might be a good thing for the market overall, because the baby boomer generation was a pretty large, or is a pretty large generation comparatively. So our job market might get tighter, might get smaller, but our population is a little bit smaller too as far as growth goes. Millennials, I think we can be the next greatest generation. I think that through a certain flexibility and a millennial mindset of being specialized at getting specialized. We have to get good at getting good at many things. That we can be one of the greatest generations out there, the next greatest generation. Would you like to lose 10, 20, 50, or 60 pounds and still eat those carbohydrates? Coach Bob LeMaine, the carb loading king, can get you trim, fit, and full of muscle while still eating those carbohydrates. So go to www.unionofmuscle.com and click on the Fitness Coaches tab and find Coach Bob LeMaine. And remember to lift strong and prosper. Go to www.unionofmuscle.com and click on Find a Fitness Coach to find a coach that fits your needs the best. Summer is almost here. Do you want to get fit for the summer? Do you want to get beach ready, trim, fit, and feeling good? Our newest coach, Coach Jamie, is running a Summer's Almost Here special to help get you into the shape you want for the warm summer days. Go to www.unionofmuscle.com and click on the Fitness Coaches tab. There you can find Coach Jamie and his summer special. With Coach Jamie and the Union of Muscle, you can lift strong and prosper. Saturday, August 1st. The Elite Warrior Challenge is putting on their next mixed martial arts combat cage fight. You can go to www.ewcmma.net to get your tickets now. Your Union of Muscle coupon code MUSCLE1 is now accepted at earthskinbodycare.com, rubberarmmusclerub.com, ewcmma.net, and axonlabs.io. You're listening to the Union of Muscle podcast, where muscle meets information and inspiration. Well, it's Sunday morning, and I'm about to do my Sunday morning stretches. So every Sunday, I try to get in some stretching. I do about an hour of stretching, and I've been recording a little bit about what I'm doing, but more in a tutorial format to help everybody out. And that might be a while, because I got tons of other stuff I'm doing. So, but another thing I wanted to talk to you guys about today was, I don't know if I want to call it gym sins, but there was a lot yesterday. I was in there, and bless your hearts, some of you, you're trying hard, but you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to get anywhere with bad lifting techniques. And
you might even hurt yourself. So I wanted to kind of follow up on some of the things I've been saying in the podcast. And maybe this video will help hit it home a little bit more for you guys. Keep going to the gym, even if you suck at it. But try not to hurt yourself. Try not to do things that'll injure yourself. I know you want to lift big. I know you want to lift heavy. And it's good to have some intensity when you work out. That may mean that you're doing more reps. That may mean that you're doing more sets. That may mean that you're doing higher weight in order to get that intensity. It may mean that you're just gripping the weight harder with all your hand, even holding on with your pinky. But I wish I could just say that you need to pick a weight that's right for you, but that's maybe not very helpful. And I'd like to say, maybe have good technique. One thing that's going to help some of you are out there, and I ran across a few guys in the gym who are actually open to receiving some help, which is always nice. Some people, they just seem so intense on doing it the wrong way that you feel that even if you're trying to help, it's going to fall on deaf ears. So it's tempo. Tempo may be a great way for you to begin to understand how to lift the proper weight. Because if you can't keep the right tempo, then you know you need to change up what you're doing and how you're doing it. So let's focus on tempo. So tempo is, if you think of a metronome, maybe you're learning music and that's that little thing that's going tick, 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 tick. And you can slow it down or speed it up, but it gives you kind of this pace that you're going at with the song. So working out, every rep that you do can have a certain tempo to it. Now, sometimes you want to vary this tempo so it's not a 1-to-1, so you're not just going tick, 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 tick. Most of the time, what you want to do is fight gravity, and fight gravity in an effective manner. And so, on the positive, or going away from the earth or from gravity, you want to go faster. And then as you're letting the weight come back down to the earth, however that weight's set up, you want to take that slower. That's the negative. So as the weight's going towards the earth, you want that to be slower than the positive on the up. A lot of times you guys have this reversed. You're going fast on the negative and slower on the positive because it's harder for you to do the positive because you're selecting the wrong weight and your technique's wrong. That's one way to look at tempo. Another way to look at tempo is to create steps within the lift. So let's say you're doing a lat pull down or some cable crossovers, and you want to test out to see if you have the right weight. Try some tempo, try some pauses in between. So instead of going all the way out or pulling all the way down, do it in steps both ways. So divide the movement up into maybe 5 steps. So you're not going all the way out and across. You're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And pinching the chest together, keeping the chest up. That's form. But just look at tempo, right? And then on the way back, in steps. Same with the lat pull down. Just try it to see if you've got the right weight. And it's a great way to actually work on stabilization and work on the muscles in a different way. So go down and pull it down in steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then let it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's another great way to use tempo in order to help you know if you're doing the right weight and to actually build muscle in a better, safer way. Because if you're doing it, if your form is in such a way that it's compromised, then doing it in steps is really going to point that out to you because you're not going to be able to do it. If you're doing too heavy weight, where you're yanking it down and relying on momentum at that point, you can pull all kinds of muscles, all kinds of bones out of place and joints and tendons by yanking on it and letting gravity control you. And that's what's going on, is you're letting gravity control the weight, and you're just a piece of meat in between that's going to get smashed and demolished. So you need to stay in control. And being able to go at steps, right, that shows that you're really in control of the weight and you can handle that kind of weight. Now, sometimes I encourage people to look at this like Tiger Woods. When he was learning a new form, he had to kind of take a year or two off, and he learned a new grip. And everyone's like, you're crazy, you're doing so well, why are you going to throw everything out the window? But he learned a new grip, and he got better. That's how you might have to take form. You might need to knock down the weight in order to work on good form, in order to get better, in order to lift safely, and get the kind of results that the time you're putting into this deserves. So if you've been working out a long time, you're not getting the results you want, take a look at tempo. Take a look and see if by changing up this tempo, it's going to teach you a little bit that you need to maybe work on your form or lift the right weight for you. Now, yeah, maybe on the last couple sets, your form and tempo sucks because you're pushing through, but that's usually when you know you're about done with that set. And you need to take a break and come back to it after your muscles are a little bit, have had a chance to run a few biological processes to get some more energy and some more water back into the muscle. Because, I mean, these are just little bags of water, right? Little bags of water, and they're shaped differently in different forms, but that osmosis of moving the water from one cell to another is really what's engorging it, right? Because blood is just a lot of water, right? So when that's pumping into the muscle, right, we're getting an expansion and a contraction as the water or muscle moves out. So water's important too. Anyways, I probably babbled way too much for you guys on this supposed to be a short clip, but I want the best for you guys. And I love to see when you guys are doing it great in the gym, but it saddens me and worries me when you're not doing it right, because it can really destroy your whole fitness goals when you're lifting wrong. But you need to be lifting, and you need to be working hard and keeping up that intensity.
I want to thank all you beautiful fitness freaks, geeks, and athletes for going to www.unionofmuscle.com and clicking on the Patrons tab. There, you are able to sign up as a patron. As a patron, you get access to commercial-free episodes of the Union of Muscle podcast. Additionally, you get additional ways to earn fit coins. You're assigned a Union of Muscles coach who's going to help you stay accountable to your own personal fitness goals. If you haven't signed up as a patron to the podcast and to the Union of Muscle, go ahead and do so now. Just head over to www.unionofmuscle.com and click on the Patrons tab. And remember to lift strong and prosper.
Your Union of Muscle coupon code MUSCLE1 is now accepted at earthskinbodycare.com, rubberarmmusclerub.com, EWCMMA.net, and axonlabs.io. Do you work in health and fitness or want to? Feel free to contact me, Coach Paul, at unionofmuscle.com for more information. Saturday, August 1st. The Elite Warrior Challenge is putting on their next mixed martial arts combat cage fight. You can go to www.ewcmma.net to get your tickets now. Would you like to lose 10, 20, 50, or 60 pounds and still eat those carbohydrates? Coach Balamain, the carb loading king, can get you trim, fit, and full of muscle while still eating those carbohydrates. So go to www.unionofmuscle.com and click on the Fitness Coaches tab and find Coach Balamain. And remember to lift strong and prosper. Do you want to lift strong? Go to www.unionofmuscle.com and click on Fitness Coach tab. There, you will find fitness coaches who are ready to help you lift strong. What's great is that once you have your own fitness coach, either as a consultant or one-on-one, you can also earn more fit coins for completing the goals the coaches set for you. Live strong and prosper. Join the Union. Next week on the Union of Muscle, I'll be speaking with EWC, Elite Warrior Challenges combatant.
My name is Josh Sturgill. You're listening to the Union of Muscle podcast. Live strong and prosper.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment. You've been listening to the Union of Muscle podcast. All rights are reserved by the content's creators.